Court is in session and calls number 332096. Case is styled the state of Texas versus John H. Hendricks. Mr. Hendricks, is that your full name?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks, would you please raise your right hand? I lift it a little higher, can't see it. Mr. Hendricks, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Promise.
What did you say?
I promise.
Oh, you promise. Okay, you may put your hand down. Now, Mr. Hendricks, I have before me a document. Well, actually, before we get to that, Mr. Hendricks, you're here represented by your attorney, Mr. Joel Vasquez. Mr. Vasquez, do you waive a record in Mr. Hendricks' case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hendricks, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This document was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about March 21st of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespassing. Mr. Hendricks, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Hendricks, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now,
Guilty.
are you,
No. No contest.
No content. No content.
okay, now, Mr. Hendricks, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or accept the charges?
My own choice.
Your own
It's my
choice.
own choice.
All right. Okay, now, Mr. Hendricks, now, and you're pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or you do not wish to contest the charges, is that correct?
I didn't understand.
Okay,
I don't understand what you said.
Mr. Hendricks, are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or you do not wish to contest the charges?
Because I don't want to contest the charges.
Okay, that's fine. Now, Mr. Hendricks, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. On page 2 of this document, Mr. Hendricks, there are a set of initials. The initials are JH, and they are on a line that is next to a box that's checked nolla contendere, which means no contest. Mr. Hendricks, did you place your initials JH on this line?
Yes, sir.
On the next page of this same document, Mr. Hendricks, there is a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Mr. Hendricks, did you sign this document?
Yes, sir.
On the next document, Mr. Hendricks, that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, there is a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Mr. Hendricks, did you sign this document?
Yes, sir.
At the top of this same document, Mr. Hendricks, there are 2 boxes that are checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you are waiving your right to an appeal, which means you are giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hendricks, did you sign a document out there on paper that is titled Discovery Certification?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hendricks, before you signed and initialed all of these documents that I've just mentioned to you, did your attorney, Mr. Vasquez, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Hendricks, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
And also State's Exhibit number 2?
2 as well, Your Honor.
Mr. Vasquez, do you have any objections?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection. State's exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted, and the court will take judicial notice of state's exhibit number 2 in the court's file, which is a probable cause affidavit. Mr. Vasquez, you have advised and counseled Mr. Hendricks. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial? Mr. Hendricks, your attorney, Mr. Vasquez, has advised and counseled you. And Mr. Vasquez, you're gonna have to take your mic off of mute.
I beg your pardon, Your Honor.
Okay, now, I'll just have to repeat my question. Mr. Vasquez, you've advised and counseled Mr. Hendricks. Is there any evidence that he's currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Hendricks, your attorney, Mr. Vasquez, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hendricks, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
It's 10 days.
Mr. Hendricks, the state is, oh, no, it says 70 days on here. Mr. I don't know. Is it 10 days?
10 days was the offer that we made. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Hendricks, the state is offering that you serve 10 days in the Jefferson County Jail. You will be given credit for any time that you are entitled to get by law. The court cost in this case, Mr. Hendricks, is $342. Mr. Hendricks, will you be able to pay the $342?
For what?
The court cost, will you be able to pay it?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, Mr. Hendricks, I have before me a document that is titled Affidavit of Indigence. And on this document, there's some financial information. It has your monthly income and assets, and it has your monthly expenses. This document was signed on June 6th by you of 2022. Now, Judge, the magistrate who signed this form stated that you met the eligibility requirements for the appointment of a court-appointed attorney, and based upon this information stating that you do not have any income and no bills, the court is also going to find that you are indigent, and based on the finding of indigency, Mr. Hendricks, you will not have to pay the court costs of $362. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Because the court is going to waive the court costs pursuant to Article 42.15 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. Mr. Hendricks, do you understand the state's offer and the court's findings?
Yes, sir.
And do you think it's fair and just?
Yes.
And do you accept it?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hendricks, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement with the findings that the court have made concerning your indigency. And based on that, Mr. Hendricks, your punishment is assessed at 10 days in jail. You'll be given credit for any time that you're entitled to get by law. And the court costs in this case of $342 will be waived. Mr. Hendricks, this will conclude your case. Please follow the bailiff. You can knock on the door, follow the bailiff, and you have a blessed day.
All right, thank you. All right.
Justin Rito.
How you doing?
All right. This is cause number 332372, case to style the state of Texas versus Justin Jerome Rito. Mr. Rito, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Rito, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Rito, you may put your hand down. Mr. Rito, your full name is Justin Jerome Rito.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rito, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. Rito, you are represented in this case by your attorney, Joel Vasquez. Mr. Vasquez, do you waive a record in Mr. Rito's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rito, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about April 23rd of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of violation of a protective order. Mr. Rito, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And this charge, Mr. Rito, how do you plead guilty, not guilty, and no contest?
No contest.
Now, you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rito, I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. This document also is labeled as, oops. This document also is labeled as State's Exhibit number 1. On page 2 of this document, Mr. Rito,
Mhm.
hold on a minute. On page 2 of this document, Mr. Rito, there are a set of initials that are on a line. Oh, that's a funny looking initial. Guess that must be I guess it's a signature and initial. Okay. Mr. Rito, there's a set of initials that's on the line next to a box that's checked nolo contendere, which means no contest. Did you place your initials on this document?
I did.
On page 3 of this same document, Mr. Rito, there's a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Did you also sign this document?
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh. Let me do this here. Send that document back. Send it back so that Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, sir. I didn't check the box.
No, you failed to check
Ah.
those. We're gonna have the clerk send it back to you. Just hold on a minute.